I've been thinking recently and reading little things here and there about technology. This coming week, we have this big meeting, COP26, where leaders from nonprofits and governments will be talking about climate change, the environment, and what's the core of the problem? If you ask me, simplistically, the core of the problem is the Industrial Revolution. Humanity created ways of using energy in new ways, steam and then electricity and all kinds of things. And then we had inventions. We invented railroads and automobiles and radios and airplanes and refrigerators. We invented, around technology, modern civilization. Oh, and by the way, today we have servers. Computer servers, they take a huge amount of electricity to run all this stuff. Mining for Bitcoin takes a huge amount of electricity. Electricity is a form of energy. Humanity, starting in the 1800s, really shifted its relationship to nature by figuring out how to use in massive amounts new sources of energy through technology. Consequence, the production of CO2, which goes up into the atmosphere, and other kinds of gases, which then has an impact on climate. So if we got rid of all our technology and we went back to our standard of living of, let's say, 1600, we would not be changing the global temperature by ourselves that much. So can we look to technology? One of the driving forces which has brought technology to scale and continues to do so is capitalism. It's markets. It's creating things that people want to buy, and in a way that they have access to resources to buy them. Well, what is technology thinking about or proposing that might be relevant to us? I saw one article where somebody has come up with a way of generating, a better way of generating electric currents through the action of waves, which is actually having a little machine that sits on top of the waves with paddles down below, and the paddles move in various ways. If the waves are small, it moves a little bit, and it does some generation. If the waves are big, they move a lot, but you can have lots of these little machines all generating certain kinds of electricity. Another thing that I've been reading about is hydrogen. Can we use hydrogen in the place of hydrocarbons? And what is the technology which allows us to do this? Apparently, in theory, we can do it. We can run engines off hydrogen. And in some engines, in some processes of taking the energy out of hydrogen and using it, the byproduct is water, which is, it has its own good purposes and fairly harmless. But who's going to pay for the technology? Who's going to pay for the inventions? Who's going to carry the inventions to scale? There's an aspect that we could focus on a lot more. We keep hearing about renewables, which is sort of wind and solar. Well, what about hydrogen? Diets. There are a number of new technological inventions about urban farming. We don't need to necessarily have large farms which have a lot of ammonia which goes into the water, and the impact on the environment of farms in America, 6,000 acres, things like that, deforestation in Brazil, et cetera, et cetera. If we can grow a lot of the food we need in cities, hydroponics, and that's, of course, it's going to need electricity because you need lights. Other people are now looking into the manufacturing of foods which taste like meat, but they don't come from animals. They come from other chemicals, and they're put together in ways that give you the nourishment we have from meat, but then you don't necessarily need to have huge farms and acreages devoted to cattle and to sheep and other kinds of animals. There's talk of shifting the human diet away from our traditional sources of food to things which we actually make more scientifically. That's the application of technology in new ways to serve human needs. Also, there's experimentation with microorganisms, which if we ingest in our bodies will make us healthier. So I think we need to be more optimistic about the intersection of capitalism, markets, business, profits, and invention and technology to come up with things which have merit, which are good for us.